Welcome back. Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson is calling for reform of the U.S. corporate tax structure. In an op-ed piece in Thursday's Wall Street Journal, Paulson said cutting corporate and capital gains taxes will spur spending and boost productivity. But it is the key to keeping America great? Well, that is the question. Ryan Ellis of Americans for Tax Reform says yes. But Robert McIntyre, Director for Citizens for Tax Justice, thinks Paulson's plan goes off track. Nice to have you with us, gentlemen. Welcome to the program.
Good to be here.
Mr. McIntyre, let me kick it off with you. What's wrong with Paulson's plan?
Well, you know, it's a little confusing what he says in the Wall Street Journal piece. He starts off saying he wants to take us back to what Ronald Reagan and the Congress did in 1986 with the Tax Reform Act. And in that bill, they closed hundreds of corporate loopholes, set the corporate rate at 34%, and had a big increase in corporate taxes. They also raised taxes on investors. And according to Paulson, that led to a 20-year economic boom. If that's what he wants to do, I'm for it. But I'm afraid, looking at what the Bush administration has done so far, that that's not what he wants to do, and he has a different plan. But at least the first half of his article, broaden the corporate tax base, raise corporate taxes so we're not the lowest in the world, that would be excellent.
Ryan Ellis, what do you think?
Well, Maria, this really all proceeds from the fact that we have the second highest corporate income tax rate in the industrialized world, behind only Japan. When you factor in our state as well as federal corporate income taxes, we have about a 39% combined corporate income tax rate compared to about a 25% average among industrialized countries, particularly those in Europe. It's no surprise that Secretary Paulson decided to write about this and focus on it. And it's probably the biggest pressing tax need that we have right now.
Robert McIntyre, what do you say to that?
Well, you know, we do have a corporate nominal rate that's a bit higher than Europe, but we don't tax most of their profit. In fact, the last study we did, the companies on average managed to tell the IRS they only made half as much as they told their shareholders they made. So if we can get that up so they report their income honestly, sure, we can have a little bit lower rate. We can also do something to deal with our massive budget deficit problem. And that'll mean higher revenues.
You're talking about two different things.
No, we aren't.
Ryan Ellis, you're talking about two different things. Well, are the numbers accurate or not?
Well, Maria, I mean, part of this is accurate. There's a certain Laffer curve effect here. If you lower the top marginal rate on corporations, which in the United States hits 39%, if you bring that down a little bit closer to what our competitors have, the incentives that corporations have to shelter income, to play a lot of tax games would go down, and corporations would focus their capital and their activities and their time on growing the business and creating wealth for Americans rather than trying to avoid taxes. And frankly,
Robert McIntyre, isn't it true that lower taxes has helped this economy over the last 7 years, and in fact it took the U.S. economy out of recession, or at least helped it?
Well, hopefully we're not still in a recession. I think early on a stimulus was a good idea.
No, we're not still in a recession.
A stimulus was a good idea.
When taxes went down, it pulled it out of recession. I didn't say we were still in recession.
No, but right now we have an economy that's growing reasonably well, and it has been for several years, and we are still running such enormous budget deficits that we're funding a quarter of our non-Social Security spending with borrowed money. We've got to stop doing that.
Maria,
that means everyone has to pay their fair share in taxes.
Maria, the budget...
What about that, Ryan? Are we going to be borrowing money forever? Ryan Ellis, how do you respond?
Absolutely not. Budget deficits are about half of their historic level this year since 1960. We have a very good chance that the budget deficit is going to come in about 1% of GDP this year, or about $150 billion is what it's likely to be. That's extremely manageable going forward. And frankly, if we want to keep corporations in this country and keep them in the U.S. tax base, we have to have a Laffer curve effect here. We need to lower the top rate so that corporations are willing to stay here, earn money, report profits, and pay a reasonable level of taxes at a reasonable rate.
Well, there's no doubt about it. The budget deficit has improved. No doubt about it. That's a fact. Robert McIntyre, right?
Oh, it's gotten somewhat better, but when you count what's being borrowed and spent from Social Security, it's still in the $350 billion range, and we can't afford to keep doing that. Because, you know, the baby boomers are going to retire.
Well, the answer to that is not raising corporate income taxes. The answer to that is personal accounts for younger workers so that we can transition to a fully funded Social Security system.
Gentlemen, really good ideas. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll get back to you on this subject, and it is, of course, an important one.